I am gonna go with the Drake Hotline Bling meme award, which if you've never seen the Drake Hotline Bling music video, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. But you at
Don't
least
explain a
know,
meme. You're good. People
yeah,
get
whatever, you get it.
out
Verbal
here
meme,
explaining
anyways.
memes from 2016. Incredible.
So the Drake Hotline Bling meme award is gonna go to Keldric Faulk and Cashius Howell going into the combine, and kind of relating to what these guys sort of have at stake at the combine in a way. But also more so like the perception of both these guys, A, going into the combine, and B, like how, coming out of the combine, what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes, the reason why I picked these two guys is because, one, I think figuring out who, well, I guess depending on whether you consider Arvell Reese an edge or linebacker or whatever, figuring out which after Reese, Bain, and Bailey, like who that next edge rusher is in this class is kind of like up for interpretation. I think the majority of people probably lean Falk, but I've seen how, like, depending on what you kind of look for in an edge rusher, like some people like Howell more, some people even like a guy like Mesidor better, but like obviously there's the age factor. But with these two guys in particular, um, the reason I use the Hotline Bling meme is because I think right now pre combine, right? I think a lot of people, if you're like myself, are going to, take the top meme format of Drake being like, no, I don't want that as Cassius Howell, even though he has better production, right? But you look
hmm
at the
hmm
traits and you look at the size and arm length, and it's like, oh, I don't know if I want to build my, have my, you know, primary edge rusher or even secondary edge rusher be that guy. But then the bottom half of the meme where Drake's going like, yeah, I want that, is Keldric Faulk, who is just like looks like a tank, like
Yep.
built like an ox, and but he's like just the pass rush plan is not there. Um, Needs a lot of work in regards to like how he approaches pass rushing, and so like better hand usage, all this stuff to the point where it's like, I even if it's not there, that looks a lot more appealing to me than the other guy. I guess what I wanted to take that to where kind of what I'm hoping to see from these guys at the combine to kind of get our perceptions to be either flipped or like maybe we're into both these guys as a result. I'll start with Keldric Falk because I think a lot of people are really excited about Keldric Falk and have him at default as edge three on mainly because of those like size traits, right? Um, right now edge four if you count ROVs. You get my point. Um, I mean, like I said, he's built like a freaking tank. He's 6'6", 285. But the thing is that like whenever you watch him, the tape isn't bad. It's just that when you watch the pass rush reps, it's like he doesn't look as impressive as I thought it would be. Like
hmm
it, I don't think he has like an insane amount of burst. I don't think he's like whenever you see him kind of like move laterally, it's not really. It kind of looks a little like draggy, and like
Yeah.
he's having a little trouble trying to move side to side. And then in relation to that, whenever he's trying to kind of like move laterally to go outside, like I don't really see a lot of bend.
hmm hmm
Which I
hmm
get it. This dude's huge, so like
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not expecting him to be able to bend like like Flubber or like Gumby and just be crazy. But you gotta have at least some kind of flexibility, especially like hip
hmm
flexibility
Yeah.
at edge in order to like really win on pass rush reps. So like for me with Falk, like specifically which this is the case for this is really the only like combine specific, like if you're watching the combine on Twitter or like watching clips or whatever, catch or like trying to like track certain drills or whatever.
hmm
There are certain drills that are really important for like certain position groups, for especially for a guy like Falk because of the weaknesses. Like I'm watching the hoop and bend drill to see like, okay, is he gonna like did he work on his like hip flexibility, and like is he showing more bend in drills than he did on tape? His four cone and three cone, because I need to see like that lateral movement be at least halfway decent. all and remember, like, because he's so big, like the size adjusted speed stuff is going to be really important. Like, don't just
Yep.
look at the raw numbers. Like, you got to take into
Yep.
context, like, because of how big he is, like how is he moving relative to that. And then I think the broad jump, because of that like first step explosiveness, like
Mm-hmm.
I think I need to see it be at least like pretty good, just to like make sure that he's not just gonna be a big body that's like
Mm-hmm.
essentially like kind of the worry that I think a lot of people have is like, man, we really liked Michael Williams last year. Michael Williams didn't really rush the passer very well. He just kind of stood there, you know. That's kind of where a lot of the worries are with Falk. But if he can at least perform halfway decent in those drills, I think that we'll continue to be really into Keldric Faulk as being a legitimate, like pass rushing prospect that you can actually build your pass rushing room around, as your number one, you know, edge rusher. But ultimately, it's like right now he looks really appealing, but he could look less appealing after the combine, depending on how those goes. With Howell, it's like quite the opposite, where it's like people are kind of really like doubting Howell is like translating to the next level because of how he wins with primarily speed, because
Mm-hmm.
he's a speed demon, designated pass rusher, and that's pretty much all he does. That's it. And he like we've talked about how undersized he is. He has short arms, and doesn't really like have good hand usage. Which like if you have short arms and you're not like super big and you don't have good hand usage, like how are you gonna win in the NFL?
Right.
And I think for him, it's like we need to see him do well in those drills with the hand usage and technique, and like seeing like kind of him show off his bag as a pass rusher,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's like if you're gonna rely on something, like you better be really good technically. If you're only gonna do this one thing, you better do it
Mm-hmm.
insanely well, or else it's not gonna work. And that's kind of where I think for Howell, it's like if the only way you're gonna kind of get that stink off you, that Drake's looking at you like I'm not taking you with, you know, a top 20 pick. You have to kind of show that you have more versatility in that
Mm-hmm.
way, other than just being a one trick pony. And so I think that like Howell especially, I think, has more at stake than Falk does. Like I think Falk will probably
Mm-hmm.
get drafted higher than Howell regardless, but I think
Yeah.
it's more of like having faith that Falk will be a prospect that we think he can be. Whereas for Howell, it's like if depending on how the combine goes, like you might be able to sneak in like to that like 15, 16
Mm-hmm.
range, or you might like be late first, possibly falling out of it, depending on how it goes. So, yeah, and I think that like as I evaluated all the position groups, I wanted to focus on like some of these guys that were past kind of like the top 10 prospects of like
Mm-hmm.
these names that you're going to hear that possibly could be like risers or fallers after this, and how to kind of track that as we head into the combine.
How are you gonna feel when neither of them do any of the athletic testing?
Yeah, probably. I mean, they probably aren't going to, knowing them. But like, I guess like my point is that I guess I just wanted to use this as a thought exercise, even if nothing happens,
Yes,
because a lot of
100,
these guys don't,
100%.
because it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that because guess what? I know I'm not going to be good at it, so it's only going to hurt me. Which
And
whatever.
actually more importantly than like we're still gonna hear what teams think about these two
Yeah.
guys' abilities to do those things coming out of it. Um, at the end of the day, as it relates to the draft on the two of them, I think it's just gonna end. I do wonder if Falk is gonna be hurt by Sanders and Williams from last year. Just obvious or not Sanders, Stewart, sorry.
Stewart. Yeah.
Um, obviously Stewart was its own situation. I think people can write off. And Michael Williams, like I think was for the most part until the injury kind of what he was billed as, but I think teams still might be scared away by the backlash of how that didn't work out. The big, strong, tough guy just oh yeah, don't worry, it'll just work itself out. And then it so clearly didn't, at least in year one for those guys.
Yeah.
I think it'll ultimately just come down to teams in the middle of the first round to the end of the first round who's looking for a 4-3 end and who's looking for a 3-4 outside linebacker.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
and it's going to be your a flavor kind of thing
Yes.
for
Yeah.
where they get picked. Um, but yeah, seeing monitoring how people are feeling about those guys coming out of the combine, one way or another, even if it's just, hey, in the meetings, we were asking Howell about his hand rush or pass rush moves and his hand usage, and this is what he told us, and we really liked it. Or, oh,
Yeah.
we asked Falk, we showed him clips of his pass rush and asked him to explain his pass rush moves, and he or plan, and he couldn't think of one. Oops, that didn't go
Yeah.
well. Um, More
Granted,
and more, it's
granted,
becoming these thought exercises rather than us getting to watch him run around.
granted, some of that can be passed off if they like are coached up to interview very well. It's like it's like how
Yeah,
get go into an interview for a job you're definitely not qualified for. It's like, oh, I see that you put like uh AI, expertise in your resume. It's like, yeah, I can do that. It's like
I
uses
can
Chat
Google.
GPT once,
Yeah.
right? It's like, yeah, I definitely don't know how to do that,
I
but I'll
asked
put it on my
AI what I
resume.
should put on my resume, and they said I should say I'm good at AI.
Yeah.
Um,